Welcome. My name is Barber, founder of SB Global, and today I'm going to be discussing how to compare fees of a Qrops set up with an offshore bonds versus having a SIP that has a platform underneath. So when looking at a recommendation, the most important thing is to see what benefits you're getting versus the fees you're paying. This video is just going to be comparing fees, so it's not to provide any advice on what's the best recommendation, i.e. Qrops versus SIP, but it's just really to see how fees do actually make a difference. Because what you can do is you can go into either a SIP or a Qrops when you're outside of the UK, and the fees are very, very different depending on what product you go into. So a SIP, for example, you can get for roughly £240, and then the average cost of the Qrop is £1,000. What you can't do when you have a SIP or Qrops is invest the money, because there's no custodian to place the investments. So what you have to do is you have to be able to have an underlying platform or an offshore bond to be able to buy and sell investments. Now, an offshore bonds has two fees. It's got a monetary fee and a percentage fee. The monetary fee is on average £125 per quarter. So that's £500 per annum. And then it has a percentage fee, and this fee could be 0 or it could be 1%. It really depends on the commission the advisor decides to take. So you can do a fee-based option, which means no commissions paid whatsoever, or you can do a commission-based structure over a 5, 8, or 10-year periods. Now, as a company, we work only on a fee-based structure. So we do use offshore bonds on large pension cases or large investment cases because it works out to be extremely cheap on an ongoing basis. And of course, what we do is we just charge our fee separately. But for this example, I'm just going to take the most common, which is a 10-year charging structure. And if an advisor was going to be paid 7% commission, then it works out to be 1% per year based on the initial premium they invest. And then also for the example, I'm going to do the comparison as if the advisor was charging 1% as an annual management fee as well. So just to break down the fees then. So let's assume that somebody wants to transfer £100,000 and they're a balanced investor, which means they're investing roughly 60% in equities and 40% in bonds. So what we have is a breakdown of the fees here. The Qrops, let's call it £1,000. We've got the bond fee, so the percentage fee, as I mentioned, 1% for the first 10 years, based on the initial premium invested. So that means that if you do transfer £100,000, it's £1,000 as a flat monetary fee for those 10 years, regardless of whether the pension goes up or down. So if you're taking withdrawals or the pension decreases, it actually increases your overall fees, which is why it's sometimes not good to go in these structures, because if you are taking money out or you're about to retire, the overall costs end up going up. And then the other fee is the monetary amount that's taken from the bonds, which, as I mentioned, is £125 per quarter normally. So let's call that £500 per year. The advisor's taking 1% per year. So that means the total cost per annum are 3.5%. Now, that doesn't even include the fund costs. So, when looking at the fees, it's so important, because if you're paying 3.5% just for the structure, it's really, really expensive. And if you look at the average annualized return for a balanced investor over 100-year periods, it's 7.8%. So if you're paying 3.5% just in fees, 45% of that growth is going directly in fees. No one wants to be in that type of situation. So the alternative is you could go into a SIP, okay? And for the sake of this example, I'm going to assume, because when you're going into a SIP with a platform, you have to take the fee up front. So in this example, I'm just going to assume that the fee taken was half of the 7%, so 3.5. The SIP costs £240. The platform is just a percentage fee. There's no two fees. So the cheapest is 0.34%. The IFA takes 1%. So that means the annual fees are now only 1.83%. So that is almost half of the fees within a Qrops and an offshore bonds. And if you take the annualized return of 7.8%, that's only 23% that's going in fees. So if you add those fees up over a 10-year period, in the Qrops with the bonds, you're paying £35,000 in total. And the SIP and the platform, if we include the 3.5% initial fee, is £21,800. So significantly lower, almost half of what you'd be paying within the Qrops and the bonds. And that doesn't include the funds. So if, for example, you're paying an extra 1% per year in fund costs, then within the Qrops and the bond, that's now £45,000, which is almost half the pension pot. So you need to make sure all of these costs are low, because you've got the trustee, the platform, the advisor, and the funds. So it's 4 different layers of costs that have to be taken into consideration. And what we do as a company, we try and keep the fund cost down to 0.25%. And that way, by adding our advisory fee, it doesn't actually work out to be a significant amount of money. And the more you invest with us as a company, the cheaper it is, because we work on a regressive fee-based model, which means on our initial and our ongoing, that goes down based on the money that you invest with us. And this includes spousal assets as well, and other assets that you may move over with us. Because what we want to do as a company, we want to incentivize people to invest more money with us, because the more money you invest, the cheaper it is going to be for you. So cost is really, really important. I hope this video tries to help you understand exactly what the fees could be. And if you do need a review of your current structure, what we can do is offer a free extra review, free of charge, to go through what your current structure is and what we could offer you. And the only way we can do that is by getting the transaction statement from your provider. And with that transaction statement, we can add all of the fees up on an annual basis and actually work out what you're paying as a percentage amount. Thank you.